Good morning, gang. Good morning. Welcome to this week's altcoin update. First and foremost, big shout out to Prime XBT for sponsoring today's video. If you don't know who Prime are, it's a platform where we can not only trade crypto, but we can also trade FX, commodities, and stock indices. And as I've said many times before, the beauty of these guys is you can use crypto as collateral. So you can either deposit Bitcoin or USDT and use that to trade against all the crypto, forex, commodities, and stock pairs. If you use our links down in the description and our codes, then you can get up to a $7,000 deposit bonus, and you can also get up to 25% off trading fees. So yeah, once again, thank you Prime for sponsoring today's video. First and foremost, remember, nothing discussed today is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Trading's risky and all that. And yeah, these are just my views on the market, and it's for educational purposes only. Now that's out of the way, since it's potentially going to be the last altcoin stream before Christmas, we thought we'd do a bit of a recap of all the altcoins that we've covered so far, and talk about, you know, what's happened and what could happen. So it might be a bit of a longer video than usual, but bear with me and let's see what's going on. So first on the list is QNT. So QNT, at the time we posted the video, which was going back in mid-October, we'd just seen this high put in bang on the value area high that we discovered at the time, and we were saying that if price cannot push any higher and back into this consolidation effectively, then I'd be looking for lower. And we were saying the point of control, definitely an area of interest. If the point of control didn't hold, then we'll be looking at the 0.5 fib and the 618 fib. And we can throw that back on here, because this was just a local pull at the time. So we can see, we could see that we got into the 0.5, had a small reaction, nothing crazy. And then the golden pocket actually offered no support whatsoever, and we just blasted straight down through. And then what we're saying is if the golden pocket didn't hold, then likely this would be quite a fast move, because it's very thin, lots of stops, tightly compact on top of each other. So if price was to return to it, then chances are it's just going to stop on all the way down. And lo and behold, we stopped all the way down, and we came into this consolidation here that we were looking at, and this is where we're hovering. So QNT moving forward, well, quite simply, hold support here, keep this structure. Potentially, if this is a higher low, then I'll be looking to fill this inefficiency gap in here and likely back up towards this point of control. If this point of control gives a reaction, then we've got another short trigger. If that point of control gives no reaction, then take it back up to the value area high, and ideally I'll be looking for a liquidity grab of these highs here. Okay? If this structure doesn't hold, then ultimately, as we said at the time, then be looking to come back down to the value area low. So the value area low right now is coming in roughly around $43. So quite simple, level to level. Let's just throw it on a quick range on here as well, just so we can get an idea of what's going on. Let's use that high there. There we go. So we can see here even more clear as well, actually. Price has come back down. As we've come into this consolidation here, we've spiked back up into the EQ of the overall range, and then obviously had a rejection again. So as I say, reclaim this EQ, back up towards point of control, lose this, range lows. Simple level to level. Again, we're not in a risk-on environment here, it's still a risk-off environment. So, you know, if you are taking longs, which is absolutely fine, because obviously, you know, if you did take a long on QNT in the first place, and obviously it did pump like hell, you know, that was a 400% move. But after a 400% move, if you were thinking about longing up here up at the top after 400% increase, then you're just a fool and you need to give your head a shake. Okay? Because we're still in a macro bear market, guys. You know, structure's not changed. You know, look at Bitcoin, you know, look at Ethereum. Those are the two pairs that you really need to pay attention to when you're trading altcoins. Because whatever they're doing, also likely going to follow. Yes, you will get outliers, and you will have cycles where certain pairs, like for example Link the other week, you know, had a nice move to the upside, but keep an eye on what Bitcoin and what ETH's doing. And if you can't chart Bitcoin and ETH, then, you know, you're charting altcoins blind, effectively. Yes, the TA still works, but to give you the heads up of what the macro conditions are, look at Bitcoin and ETH. Okay, next on the list was INJ. We're talking about, this is where, must have been around here, so this is 23rd of October roughly, when we must have done the last video on it. we're looking at if price does come back up to the range highs, which it quite clearly did, then I'd be looking for a liquidity grab, probably of one of these two levels. Lo and behold, we took out the first one quite quickly, and that was the first wick up, came back down, back tested the range highs, and this is obviously where your breakout traders come into play. They start continuing pushing the price up, we take out these highs, grab the liquidity, and lo and behold, we come back into the range again, straight back into value. You know, we do have a nice wick down to the EQ, back up, close outside of value, but then ultimately continue rolling over, and then we hit as targets, which is the point of control, and then now we've hit the value area low. So what's next for INJ? Well, if we get another bounce here, then I'll be targeting back up to the EQ, quite simply, as a take profit 1, if this does hold. If then that holds again, then looking to ride and take out all these stops here, back up into value area high. And if that holds, then ultimately range highs again. If this doesn't hold here, or we do get a pump up perhaps to the EQ right now, and we get a rejection, then I'll be looking to take these lows again, probably another stab back into the value area low, perhaps touch it this time because we have slightly front run it so far. And if that doesn't hold, then I'll be looking down at the range lows again. And like I normally say is, if it does come back down to the range lows, then realistically what I'd be looking for is these perfect lows. Bear in mind we've got equal lows here, which I never like, and you know, if anyone's in our group, especially in the private group, you guys all know that I don't like equal highs and equal lows. I rarely take the same trade twice unless something different happens. And so in this case, if it does come back down here, then ideally I'd want to see a swing failure pattern, a reclaim back into the range, and then you got your long trigger. And if you don't see that swing failure pattern, then I'm quite happy to let it drop back down into this consolidation here. Okay, quite simple, level to level. Chili's. Now I am still in a position on Chili's. I am still in a short. So this is what we're looking at the time. What we're looking at, price was, I must have moved this since then. Price, oh, in fact, no, now I remember. Price was down here. I'm saying flip the point of control, then I'll be looking to take out these highs. Price did flip the point of control, came through it, back tested it, and then continued pushing higher. We took these highs. This was my trigger for a short. I'm still in a short from up here. I'm still holding on to that short, by the way. And obviously since then we've come straight back through. We did get no reaction from the point of control. We just came straight through, swing failure pattern, took out these stops here, back up and back down again. Okay, so likewise, again, just like most other altcoins, we are, so I'm going to draw it on there, press the right button, Spitty. Do I like those eyes? Yeah, I like those eyes. We are range bound. Okay, so to the downside, if price continues dropping, then I'll be looking for those range lows. If those range lows do hold, then first and foremost, as usual, I'll be looking for, ideally, a swing failure pattern, reclaim back in, as usual. And if you get no reaction there, then I'll be looking back down into these low consolidations. So this being one consolidation, and then ultimately, if that didn't hold at all, then I'd be looking back down even lower. This consolidation, and then towards this value area high. Get acceptance back into that value area, then you're back into trading this range. Get no acceptance back into that value area, then you'll be trading each one of these as their own mini range, depending if it gets that low. I'm not saying it will, I'm just saying if it does. I have taken profits on my short, if you're wondering. Now, what would it take for me to close my short? Well, realistically, I want to see a high time frame trend reversal. I'm quite happy to give up some of my profits. That's absolutely fine because there's not loads left riding in this. This is effectively what, you know, in a bull market you guys would call a moon bag, but in a bear market, obviously it's the same concept. We're just looking for Goblin Town instead. So obviously the last little bit that's in there, quite happy to give a little bit back. If I start to see some strength and we start impulsive moving up towards the highs, then I would take that. Or if we only start making in Elliott wave terms, this is if we start making a 3-wave move up rather than a 5-wave move up, then I'll look potentially to add back into my shorts and take this even lower. So yeah, that's just level to level at the moment. I'm not uber bearish, I'm not uber bullish. Macro wise, we're still in a downtrend. Sushi. Where are we with sushi? Range bound. So obviously at the time of making this video, this was roughly around the 25th of October. What we're looking at, if we could break out value area high, then looking up at the range highs. Now first and foremost, is this a deviation? And we're just taking the stops here, or are we aiming for the stops here? Which one we've got? Came back up, came back in. We did get the retest, but this is where, and I'm happy to admit this, I was wrong. Because we got the deviation out, we came back in, we got the back test, and I was saying at the time, that's potentially a short trigger. But what happened was, we just blasted straight back through it to take out the rest of the liquidity. Took the liquidity, came back down, and then no back test, no retest. This is on a daily, by the way. If we look at it on a lower time frame, yes, we did get the back test. This is a 4-hour now. Came back down, back test, quite a big wick, and then ultimately dropped back down. And where did we drop back down to? Well, we came straight through, hit the point of control, we nearly hit the value area low, came back up, then came back down, range lows again. So again, just beautiful range trading behavior. That's why, in a bear market, you need to understand how to trade a range. This is what I teach. This is our bread and butter. This is why bear markets, we're within our Discord and with our community, that this is profit, because it's range bound. You've got predefined levels to trade from, rather than bull market where you just long in every single dip and every single consolidation, and you're creating all these bad habits. When you're in a bear market, you're going down, and then you're going sideways, and then you're going down, and then you're going sideways. And it's these ranges that give us predefined levels that are easier to take trades from, because we've got quite clear invalidations. And yeah, we will be wrong. We will get ideas wrong. It does happen. So what's next? Well, right now we're broken out at the bottom of the range. We've tagged into this consolidation here. So do we get a back test and then drop back down to potentially take out these lows? Take out these lows, reclaim, get back in. You've got a long trigger. If this doesn't happen, then we zoom out a little bit more. If you get no swing failure pattern of these lows, then ultimately I'll be looking back down into this consolidation here, which you'll be looking roughly around levels around 78 cents all the way down to roughly, call it 50 cents just for easy numbers. Okay, level to level environment, that's all. Effectively trade the range until it breaks. Is this just a deviation in itself and it gets back in? Could be. It could be. Just again, with your longs, with your shorts, don't get over greedy. Take profits at predefined levels. Quite clear to see where the predefined levels are. Happy. I remember Happy because we got a fair bit of abuse on this because I called it a shitcoin. Just for anyone that's not been around for, since 2017, just a heads up. Any altcoin is a shitcoin. It's just the term that we use. It's just as simple as that. I'm not picking on your altcoin, and if you do feel like I'm picking on your altcoin, then I'm sorry to say, but you're married to it, and you really need to stop being married to your altcoin, because that is just destined to failure. Never marry your bags. So at the time, we'd had this sweep up into this key level, took out these highs. Initially, we were looking at the first highs, took out the second highs, absolutely fine. Then we got another stab up afterwards, grabbed the fresh stops that was created on this level, and we've come back down. Now what have we done? We've come back down. First and foremost, we've come back down into the value area high. Well, we got into the range, got into the value area high, came back up, back tested the range, come back down to the point of control where we were looking for, which lined up perfectly with the EQ, and then we've got a good bounce. So now the question is this a bounce with a continuation? Well, if it is a continuation, then I'll be looking back up into our key level again. If this is a bit of a dead cat bounce, then ultimately I'll be looking for this thing to fall back over and come back down and continue playing this range. And once again, I'll be targeting the value area high, point of control, and the value area low. And if none of these levels hold, then I'm going to be looking back down at the range lows. And as usual, I'll be looking to take the liquidity. because in an ideal world, that's what happens. So we get down here, if that is. Obviously, remember, trading is just if this, then that. If we come back down here, swing failure pattern, grab the liquidity, reclaim back up, and you got long trigger. And then we just continue trading the range. Okay? It's not overly complex. You know, you guys can see from my charts on here that I'm posting, you know, it's volume profiles, it's a few SR levels, and, you know, it's the parallel channel for the range. You know, I do trade with a lot more tools in the group and what I teach, but, you know, you can quite clearly see just from this that the power that we've got in this alone. Dodge, again, you know, Dodge is always a fun one because it's just driven by FOMO. At the time, obviously, we got this move up. This was around, this was 1st November, so this is when it happens. This is when we're recording our video. Got the move up, back tested the old range. Obviously, this is the range that we were in for quite some time. Lost the range, back test, then dropped down and created a new range. We then broke out of this range, came back tested the old range once again, still maintaining these lower high structures. So, you know, again, it's not time to get uber bullish on these things. Big rejection here, back outside of value again. We didn't get acceptance, back into this value range, back out of value, drop back down, and back in. Tested the EQ, range high, EQ, range high, deviate, back in, EQ. You know, it's simple level to level. If you were trading this, you know, this could have been an absolute gold mine. Admittedly, we weren't trading Dodge. You know, I don't really trade this coin, but it respects channeling so well. It respects the ranges so well. So from here, what happens? Well, let's just quickly throw on another volume profile just so we can see where we're up to. Interesting. So the EQ is actually the thinnest part of liquidity, which is interesting. So get a bounce here, looking back up at this point of control area / range highs. Get above that, value area high. To the downside, didn't mean to do that. So let's bring that back a bit. There we go. Lose this, then range lows, value area low, and once again, ideally, take out the lows for a move up. If we don't get a reaction here at the lows and we don't get that swing failure pattern, then I'm sorry to say, but this is effectively your last chance saloon would be effectively down here at roughly around 4.5 cents. Lose that, and then you're filling in this big inefficiency here, and you're probably coming back in to this consolidation here. And yeah, it's as simple as that. I mean, look at this. It's just dog shit going. Yeah. Near. Where are we up to? Would you look at that? I've still not got my target. So at the time, where we're up here, we just lost this value area, coming back down to range lows. We're saying lose this range lows. Again, we're looking, could this be a swing failure pattern? Taking out these stops here. No, it didn't end up that way because we didn't get the reclaim. And this is what I say, and you'll see this in all my videos. When I'm looking for a swing failure pattern, especially of a big range like this, I'm not looking to catch the first drive down to grab the liquidity, because that's just daft. That's an idiotic way of trading. That's catching wicks. You know, you might get it right a couple of times, but you'll probably get it wrong more times than not. So, as I've said many, many times, swing failure pattern, you want to see it actually happen. You want to sit on your hands and you want to be patient and you want to wait and you want to tell yourself, if price gets back into the range, then you're looking for your long. If this doesn't happen, just let it drop. That way you're not taking a loss. You've taken the higher probability setup if it was presented to you. And if not, it's absolutely fine. But anyone that was trying to catch wicks all the way down here, you're just getting wrecked every single time. Don't catch wicks. Unless you've got a high confluence area, don't bother trying to catch it. Just, you know, wait for a little bit of confirmation. Wait for that reclaim. The problem with most people in this game is nobody's got patience because everyone wants to get rich tomorrow. So, what we're saying, if this doesn't happen, and it didn't happen, you know, the swing failure pattern, then I'll be looking back into this consolidation here. Well, lo and behold, we came straight back through this consolidation here, if we can see here. Came straight back through it, and we've actually back tested it here. We can see there. Hopefully you can see that on your screen. And if we lost that, then ultimately I'm looking down at this point of control, which is coming in roughly around $1. So we're not quite there yet. Reclaim this, get back into this consolidation, keep trading in that range. Get above that, back up to these range lows. Okay. Lose that, back down at this point of control, and ultimately, you know, that's where I'd have some interest back down at this point of control. Lose that point of control, then sorry to say, but we could be coming even lower down to this value very low. But let's do it level by level. KDA. This is one that obviously we showed you the range fib tool that we use in the Discord. There we go. So this is a tool which is great for range trade players because it can show us where the deviations are likely to be. Obviously we lost the range lows, we lost the value area low, price came down, small reaction around the first outer deviation, the first outer bound as a deviation, no reaction there, we came back down to the extreme, and we did actually get a reaction here, so a little swing failure pattern and then back up. Let's check this back on the daily so we can see it a little bit more clear. So what happens now? Well, what we can say is we're still range bound until proven wrong. But for now, effectively what you want to see is you want to see some strength. So you want to see, ideally, this as a higher low, reclaim back into this, and then you'll be looking then up here. Get within this, reclaim back within this, back within value as well. Then you play in this range up. Point of control first, which will be taking out these stops. And if you do manage to clear that, then EQ, clear that. Value area high / range high. It's just simple. It's level to level. Now, as we've said before, lose this and not as a swing failure pattern. Obviously, always the first bit of interest. Wait for the reclaim. Wait for the back test. Then play it up. Then, sadly, we've got no predefined levels down here because this shitcoin's too new. So if it does come lower, then it's just wait until you find a consolidation. Wait till you find a range created. Atom next. Again, this is one of the ones that we're holding up relatively well. So we can see here at the time, this is roughly around the early November when we must have made this video. We'll come back in. We're back within this value area now, this overall macro value area. We've come down. We're still creating low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Is this starting to weaken? It potentially could be. Didn't mean to do that. But ultimately, if we do get a pump here, then I'll be looking back up at this value area high. If we don't get a pump, then I'll be looking back down, like we've said before, down at this old range high. Acceptance back into this old range, then I'm going to be looking back down towards this point of control. Simple. With a view to taking out these stops. Okay, to the high, obviously, by now you should understand how I trade, but to the high side, if it does manage to flip this value area high, then I'll be targeting these stops, and I'll be targeting these stops initially. Always look for where the liquidity is going to be, because that's likely where you're going to see a reaction. Okay, pivot points. Matic, again, holding up quite well. We're still, realistically, we're still in the sideways range here. There's not really much to say on Matic. Hold this level. Hold this level, and you just trade in this range within a range. Lose this level, then ultimately I'm looking back down at this point of control. Lose that, value area low, which would be nice because it'd take out these lows here, take out these stops. Lose that, then, again, it's quite thin here. So it could move through this quite fast. You do have some consolidation, but you've got a lot of stops here that are tight together, so likely it's going to run this quite fast if it does lose this range. If it doesn't lose this range and move to the upside, again, value area high, which would nicely take out these stops here, get back outside value, and then you're back to trade to this top part of the range. But again, I'm still sat on the fence. I'm not saying new all-time highs, but if you can clear it, then it could happen. But just keep in mind the rest of the market. Link's been quite a fun one, because I'm still in a short on Link. At the time we were looking at this, is this a deviation out of value? And lo and behold, it was a deviation out of value. We've got a pump up into the EQ / point of control. Then we've got a further pump up into the value area high. This is where people start getting too bullish, in my opinion, on Link. We started seeing some of the influencers posting some screenshots where they were buying, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Link up here, which was, quite entertaining because as you guys know, I'd been looking for shorts at this level, like we were saying at the time, and I did end up getting in a short back on the back test of this golden pocket here. So I'm still holding this short. I have taken profits, but as you can see, since then, price has moved down into the point of control, small reaction, straight through the EQ, back tested the EQ, and then ultimately come back down to the value area low. So anyone that follows us on Twitter will see that I posted the profit shot of this back here when we're taking profits back at value area low. Now what we're waiting to see is this another deviation out of value, and we claim back in and ride it back up, and we just continue trading this value range, keeping note of the outer extremes of the range. Or does this not get back into value and we come back down towards the range lows? Okay, at the range lows, once again, as usual, swing fairly pattern perhaps. Continue trading the range, or lose it completely. And we're coming back into this consolidation. And again, you're just trading, just level to level. Throw on a volume profile within this before the breakout. And there we go, that's your value area. So first and foremost, you'll be coming in around 360, call it. Probably up to about 385, because we can see this high volume node here. Yeah, just trade level to level. To the upside, if we do get a pump, reclaim the EQ, reclaim the value area high, range highs. Again, looking to grab that liquidity. Liquidity there. Stops, stops, stops. Not being run at all. So there's still plenty of resting liquidity. So if price does manage to get up here, then yes, I'm going to likely be looking for shorts. Mana, another one. So this one we were talking about at the time, price had just come down to the value area low. We were looking, is this going to be a deviation? Grab the stops. We did actually grab the stops, but then came back up, back tested the value area high again, and now we've started dropping down. So like we said at the time, we're just coming back into this consolidation here. So loosely speaking, between 21 cents and the high of that, which is about 35 cents. So we're just effectively trading this range here. Where's my drawing tool gone? There. We're just trading this range. This is the one. Lose that. Looking back down towards this value area high again here, like we said at the time, which is roughly around, call it, well, roughly around 10 cents, just for easy numbers. Okay, XRP has not moved at all. We're still ranging and consolidating around this point of control because that's what XRP does. Still don't understand the fascination with this shitcoin. Again, lose the point of control, coming back down into value area low, get a pump from here, looking at value area high. Very simple on XRP. Sol, still consolidating here, which is understandable because we're consolidating back into this previous consolidation here. Get a pump from here, looking back up into the range lows. Looking for a short trigger back down. If that doesn't happen and we just fold over here, then first and foremost, do we get acceptance back into this old range, or do we get a bounce? I've got a long trigger there. If not, come back down looking towards this EQ. Ape, there's not really much to say on Ape. Came back down, swing fairly pattern, deviation of these lows, back up, back into value, lost value, now we're hovering around here. So again, looking at structure, is this a lower high? Or high low, sorry, and then we're coming back up into the EQ slash point of control, targeting these highs. If that doesn't give the reaction to the downside, then be looking up at this value area high slash range highs. And again, looking for the liquidity. Just always looking for liquidity. That's where your easier trades are. Look where people's stops are, because that's where volume's likely going to be attracted to. ETH. Yeah, same plan in play. It's not changed, hasn't this? Since posting the video, we're up here, back testing the EQ. We've had a nice rejection off the EQ. Come back down, and now we're back testing the point of control. Zoom in, we can see this a little bit better. Back testing this point of control. So, rejection here, then I'll be looking back down towards these range lows slash value area low. No rejection here, reclaim this, then I'll be looking initially to take out these stops here. If that doesn't give a reaction, then I'll be looking back up towards value area high. Okay. If that does give a reaction,
then I'll be trading this back down. Now I still am sat in the short on ETH, but I'm sat in the short from up here. Majority of profits taken. Again, I've just got a goblin bag. We're gonna title it goblin bags. It sounds better. Just in case we do end up losing this value range and we come back down towards this old value range. Okay, Litecoin. You got to respect Litecoin because Litecoin respects the level so well. At the time of recording, we're up here. We're at this first standard deviation of our range fib tool, and we're saying if price does get back into the range, then you've got a short trigger. This is on the daily. Let's look at it on a lower time frame. Here we go. We came back in, back test the range high, and then we've got the drop. You know, great short trigger there. That's what we were talking about at the time. So what could happen here? Well, we could roll over, come back towards the EQ. If you come back, let's zoom out a little bit more actually, because I want that point of control on there too. Because obviously we've got the point of control and the EQ in the same place. If no reaction there, then I'll be looking down at the range lows. If no reaction there, again, we'll just look at the outside deviations of this range fib tool. If you guys want to know what this range fib tool is, then get in our Discord and check out our website as well. To the upside, we're looking back up at the range highs. We can quite clearly see that we've got respect here as an SR level. Okay, so if it does come back up here, clear off some of these. If it does come back up here, then short trigger, continue trading the range. Okay, BNB. Again, everyone's still banging on about BNB. We're hovering around the point of control. We kind of still are hovering around the point of control. Come back down. We've front run the value area low for the time being. Got a small bounce. So looking at this, either back up towards the point of control, lose this area, then back down to this value area low, lose that. Then, like we've said previously, I'll be looking at this green box here to grab some of this resting liquidity. If no swing failure pattern, if that doesn't happen, then I'm quite happy to let this drop. Come back too many times, as I always do. Let this drop back down lower. And if you want to see the targets of this, then obviously I posted it in last week's video. And finally, Ocean. How are we doing for time? Half an hour. Wow, this is a long one. Yeah, we're still consolidating down here, but obviously we're consolidating downwards. So pump from here back down, back up this range, acceptance back into value, then trading it up towards that point of control. Drop from here, then I'm still looking at this range high here, acceptance back into that range, then I'll be looking back down to this value area high / EQ, and that's it, level to level. So a big recap of all the altcoins we've talked about over the past couple of months. Updates, you know, where I've been right, where I've been wrong, you know, and that's the beauty of trading. You've got to admit when you're wrong, and it's fine. You shrug it off, you move on. Don't ever stew on a wrong trade, and don't stew on a winning trade as well. Don't let it go to your head. In fact, we've just been covering all this in our recent streams. We've covered all the psychology streams about, you know, how to manage your headspace, because it's probably the hardest part about trading. Speaking of that, obviously, if you do want to come check us out, then first and foremost, use the link down in the description. Come over to spitfiretraders.com. Join our free Discord. Just click this Discord button here. Take you into our free Discord where there's loads of alpha shared on a daily basis by lots and lots of members now. We're well over 1,000 members. And if you want to take your trading to the next level, then check out our co-pilots course, where you've got access to about roughly around 80 hours now of educational content, starting from absolute beginner through to advanced trader, including my personal strategies. And for the grand old price of 50 quid, you get access to all that. Plus you get access to the private Discord where I share my daily updates with you guys, levels that I'm interested in trading. It's not signals, but you get the idea. And obviously if you guys want to see the content that's in here, you know that this is effectively all the content that we've got in. You know, there's hours upon hours upon hours. Everything from basic SR levels through to Elliott wave theory. And as I said, we've just completed our psychology modules, which covers quite a lot of things, including, you know, how to trade for a living and how to manage that with your mind and your headspace. Yeah, so if you're interested in that, come check us out. Right, on that note, thanks once again to Prime for sponsoring today's video. If you've liked today's video, then don't forget to hit that like button and consider subscribing. And yeah, we'll continue to post videos. Keep an eye out for Thursday's Bitcoin update, because that's going to be an interesting one, guys. All right, as you were. Bye-bye.